Hello, it's Sky. So, we are currently experiencing a bit of a meltdown of the reality around us. And I think everyone is kind of feeling like something is up. It seems like the world just isn't the same anymore. Maybe things that we really used to enjoy doing don't feel the same. We might become alienated from people that were close to us. Life situations that we've become pretty comfortable in might change. Everything is going pretty fast. It feels unstable. And we are kind of caught in the middle asking, now what? It's pushing us out of our comfort zone. And that is part of this huge evolutionary step that we're currently taking. And in order to speak about this, I would like to do a bit of an exercise in consciousness. So imagine somebody who grew up in a village, born in the village, raised in the village, got to know every corner of the village, worked in the village, all relatives in the village, married in the village, died in the village. Now, maybe their son or daughter has that idea, maybe I'll travel a bit outside of the village and see what's out there. And they discover eventually that there's another village. So, the world is not just the village, there's another village. So now the world includes two villages. And then they might travel on and eventually discover that there are such a thing as cities, where they have different customs, where they have better infrastructure, where they have more variety. And they discover there's an airport and you can travel to other cities and even other countries. And then they see how many countries there are, and then eventually they discover they can even go to different continents. So their idea of what the world is expands more and more. Now imagine we on the earth are living in this village. We're taught that this is it. This earth is all there is concerning life. You know, we're kind of the center of the universe, which is suggestively eternal. And yeah, all the other planets are not inhabited, or if they are, you know, we have no idea. So this is kind of the thought space that we're revolving around. It's this reality on this earth, the little village. But there's actually so much more. And we're currently in this evolutionary step where our consciousness has the option to open to so much more. Of course, that is a little bit uncomfortable at first because you need to go out into the open where you don't know what is happening or what the rules are out there. And the reality the fact of the matter is that here on this earth, we have been kept in kind of a prison where we are functioning in a way that serves the interests of a few people, which are the ruling class. And as we know on this earth, there are colonial interests of countries that want to expand and that colonize other countries. And just as this happens on the earth, this happens in the universe too. And you could say Earth is kind of a colony. And actually, the Earth has been in contact with other parts of the universe for a very, very long time. And they have left their seeds here in humanity. But for the interests of the colonizers, it was not very beneficial for everybody to know that this was happening, because if we know about all of this, we know that we actually have a much wider span of influence and potential than we are taught that we have. And we are mostly ignorant to who we truly are and what our potential is. And our world that we live in, we are taught, is material, and that's it. And that is very one-sided, and it's like a little bit like if we stand in front of a pyramid, you know, or if we see it on a photo, we think it's just a triangle. But then when we walk around it, we can see that it is a pyramid, you know, with many angles. It's not a triangle, it has dimensions, and you can even step inside. And just like that, our reality is not just material. It's a very limited side of our reality. And unless we take more sides of reality into our perspective, we remain with a very limited span of, or field of action, so to speak. Our reality is based on spirit, and materiality is one side of it. Now, right now we are outgrowing our children's clothes, so to speak, because the vibrations on Earth are changing, and it is a natural process that this activation is happening in human consciousness. So more and more people are starting to get a hint that things are not as we have been taught. It's like children that lose the belief in the Santa Claus, you know. They think the Santa Claus comes, and if they were a good child according to what the parents taught them how they should behave, and then they get the presents. And if they're not a good child, they won't get any. And as they grow older, they understand that Santa Claus actually doesn't exist, and Dad is dressing up as Santa Claus, and that the rules that they were taught by their parents as to how they should behave is the rules the parents made for them. And there's a lot of other options. You know, because parents are also just people, and they make mistakes too. So what I want to hint at is that we have always been kept in a state where we look up to somebody else who's telling us what to do. It's society, it's religion, it's our professors, it's science. This is kind of the function that we have adapted for our lives. Somebody else knows better than I. And this way we are very open to manipulation. Because there's a lot of people out there that might benefit from manipulating us into something that serves them. So, in order to step out into a new consciousness, first of all, it's very important to realize that we are so much more than we have come to believe we are. That our DNA is a mixture of many civilizations, off-world civilizations that have left their seeds in us. And that our DNA isn't purely physical, but it's also multidimensional. So our physical DNA does not necessarily correspond to our multidimensional DNA. Plus, inactive parts of our DNA are still dormant, meaning that we don't use that potential inside of us. And right now, I think a lot of people are starting to feel pretty uncomfortable with a lot of things that are happening in the world. So the old doesn't really seem to work anymore the way it used to, but the new isn't apparent. And that has a lot to do with the fact that we are the ones who are creating the new. But in order to create the new, we need to stop always looking outside of us for an authority who tells us what to do and how to live. So when people wake up to the fact that there is not only materiality, and they start exploring spirituality, oftentimes they also fall prey to the belief that when I'm spiritual, we have to become super boring, lead an ascetic life, stop doing all the things that are fun, sit in meditation all day, and that kind of thing. And that's putting spirituality in another box and walking into the next prison, out of one prison into the next one. What opening our consciousness up actually means is stepping outside of the prison and returning to truly feeling ourselves. Because we are always taught how we should feel. And maybe we are doing a lot of things in our lives that we have been taught we have to do. And maybe our hearts were not at all okay with that. But we learned that this is the only way. And if we want something else, then we are not normal and we better fit in. So if we feel we want to do something different, oftentimes we don't have the courage because we are led to believe that there is nothing than what society tells us there is, or what our professors tells us there is. The same happens when we step into understanding that the world is more than we are led to believe, and we're walking into spirituality, that suddenly we listen to teachers who tell us what to do, who tell us what there is, who tell us what reality is, and all this kind of thing. So maybe when we resonate with a teacher, because we have been living in this role of being a child towards our authorities for so long, it's kind of a way of functioning that we have adapted, that we have always had somebody else telling us what's right, that we adapt this kind of functioning with spiritual teachers too, or what we read and hear about more sides of what there is to the world. And I've seen it very often also in people who are very spiritual, that they kind of raise this teacher up to a godlike position, and being glued on their lips without really feeling inside of themselves as to what there was inside of them. And that is the source of our true power. So anything that we experience in this world, or that we know about this world, what it really goes back to is our own experience. So, I mean, that we are continuously being led away from listening to ourselves and continuously being led towards listening to somebody else in whatever domain in our lives. And I think that in this process, it's important to understand, first of all, that there is much, much more than we have come to believe there is. So open up our consciousness to more and consider the option or the probability that there is more. And then, this opens up the pathway to an emancipation process from the structures that held us prisoner. And that can only be done when we truly return to ourselves, when we truly return to what we feel, when we truly return to what we love, when we truly start listening to ourselves. And that can only be done if we start truly experiencing ourselves again. We are so sedated by constant distraction, constant noise that is around us, TV, social media, constant hurry from one meeting to the next and one task to the next, that we have no time to really return to ourselves and feel ourselves. And that's where it all starts, really. So we are entering a stage where we are stepping into uncertainty. We're stepping into grounds that are yet unknown. And they are because we create them. We create the new. We're leaving the old behind, and now it's up to us. But in order to do that, we need to get in touch with ourselves, because otherwise we're just going to continue the same old game, listening to somebody else. So what is it that you truly feel, that you truly want? How do you want to live? This is the question. Start listening to your body again. And how you truly experience the world, There are rules being set up from all sides. And yes, there can be an orientation. Just as spiritual teachings, for example, they can give a support in understanding some things, but they should not replace your own feeling and your own experience of the world. and how you think sh- things should be, or how you would like to live. And right now, of course, that's very hard because it looks like our society is made in a way that we can only live the way that the society dictates for us. But as we can see, everything is kind of collapsing. So there's no security from society anymore either. Now that's the question. What do you want? What's truly inside of you? Do you dare go there? You know, you might find something you didn't expect. Go for it. That's my message for today. And I would love for you to share your opinion in the comments. Tell me how you experience this. And looking forward to hearing from you. Bye.